Good morning, Gloria. It's 10 minutes till 10. It's very nearly the weekend, for me anyway, I have to say, although Plank of the Week comes up at 7 o'clock. How about this from Julie in Notts? She said, morning, Mike. Ed Davey, what a plonker. You still can't define what a woman is. These politicians don't want to offend the transgender lobby, don't mind offending women. Well, that's the bit they don't get, isn't it? Absolute idiots. There we are. Anyway, listen, Connie Shaw's here. Connie, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Nice to see you. External Affairs Officer for the Free Speech Union. Very busy time for you these days, right? Have a look at this. This is Harry Cole Saves the West. I'm talking exclusively to one of your very many now clients, Deborah Anderson, who was quizzed by the police for saying something mean on the internet.
Did it make you feel like a criminal?
Yes, I've never been arrested in my life. I live a very quiet life. And here's the thing. Ultimately, it comes down to this. Pardon me. Even though I never found out what it was that I said exactly or what it was about, I even tried to find out roughly what it was about, and he couldn't tell me. The point is this. He said it wasn't against the law. This was not, he wasn't going to arrest me. I wasn't, I wasn't going to be arrested. So I'm kind of like, whatever it was I said doesn't matter, because if it's not an arrestable offense, then
why is he at your front door? Exactly.
Absolutely.
What's your message to Keir Starmer then? What's your message to the British government as an American citizen who's felt the tough end of the British state for seemingly no reason at all other than being, as you put it so succinctly, a bit mouthy on the internet? What's your message to the British government?
Well, I hadn't really thought this one through, but I would say that the British people are going to fight. You know, they're not afraid to fight. They've been quiet all this time. They've been polite. They've been well behaved. But I think they're going to push things too far. I think people are starting to get angry.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Connie, this is a woman who was visited by the police for something that she posted on Facebook. They wouldn't tell her what it was that had upset somebody who had complained about it. And this is happening so much, isn't it, now?
Yes, I mean, it was one of the most extraordinary things we've seen at the Free Speech Union. I mean, the whole video was just incredible. The fact that Deborah had the presence of mind to actually get her phone out to record such a visit, because I think often people hear about these things happening, but until you see it, it's quite hard to believe. And for Deborah, she couldn't believe it either. I don't think anyone could. No. And it's extraordinary that the police officer in question, he actually said the words, something you've posted has upset someone, and he was round her house ultimately asking her to apologise, and said if she didn't, then he would potentially have to take her for an interview, and she was very clear with him that she's a member of the Free Speech Union, and if she goes to an interview, she'll be there with a Free Speech Union lawyer. Right,
and so do you recommend to people that if something like this does happen to them, the police do turn up, that they just film it?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, she has absolutely every right to. He's in her home, exactly. But we've had a huge influx in people signing up after this video, because I think, like I was just saying, when you see a video like that, it kind of brings it all to reality. I'm one of our members, Robert Moss, who we're helping. He had the police at his front door, raided his home, took him to a police station for criticising his employer on Facebook. When I spoke to him over the phone, he said that when he would hear about these things, he didn't really believe that it was really happening in the way that it was talked about, and then it happened to him. So I think this video has really opened people's eyes to the reality of what's going on in this country.
It seems to be going on an awful lot more than we realise, and I've heard so many times different police officers and different police chiefs saying, oh no, we're not doing that anymore. Politicians saying you shouldn't be doing it. People saying, cancel this whole idea of, non-crime, hate crime reporting. But yet it seems to be getting worse. Let's have a look at what Keir Starmer said when he was at the press conference yesterday with Donald Trump about free speech.
I'm all for free speech. I'm also for protecting children from things that will harm them, paedophiles, those that peddle suicide, which had a terrible consequence for individual, particularly teenagers. And so that's the balance we strike. But we have had freedom of speech in this country for a very long time, and we will always protect it.
That's just not true, is it? I mean, he doesn't really mean that. And also, he says he wants to protect people from paedophiles, but he doesn't mind appointing an ambassador to the United States of America whose best pal was a convicted paedophile.
Well, quite. But it was extraordinary because out of all of the times where Keir Starmer has given these assurances, no matter how false they seem, this one, in my opinion, was the strongest he's given. You know, we protect it jealously and fiercely, and we always will. But he then diverts as quickly as possible to referencing the Online Safety Act and using thought-terminating cliches as we want to protect children from paedophiles. Of course we do. And that's a very hard thing to argue against because no one would. Of course we want to do that, but that doesn't mean that there aren't huge issues with the Online Safety Act that are going to impact American tech companies. Any company around the world that has a large reach in the UK will be subject to our laws. If they breach the rules of the Online Safety Act, they can be fined up to £18 million or 10% of their revenue, whichever is higher. So that is a great concern to the Americans. And of course, Deborah Anderson, she's an American citizen. If we had something like the First Amendment in this country, we hopefully would be protected from things like that. And that's why one of the reasons why Kemi Badenoch has appointed Toby Young to do this policy review. We really do need something like the First Amendment in this country.
I think we do. Also because there's no framework really within which to work. So people don't know where the rules are.
Exactly.
They don't know, you know, if you're posting something on Facebook when you're probably not thinking about who you're going to upset with it, but you don't know, there's no suggestion of what the boundary is anyway.
Precisely, and that was one of Deborah's points. She put the exact same point that you just did, that it's very vague in the UK what you can and can't say, because we don't have very strict definitions of what is and isn't acceptable. You know, this idea of stirring up hatred, it's all quite subjective, and the way that, and just you can see that the way it's subjective, the way that it's applied by the police and by the courts. So we really do need to have some extra clarity on these things.
And the police don't really seem to know where the rules are, where the laws are either, because quite often we see them coming around saying, well, we understand it's not a crime, but still you've caused distress or upset. Well, so what's that going to do with you?
I know, it's extraordinary. Again, one of Deborah's points, why is it that a police officer is coming around to tell me to apologise to someone? She said it felt like her mother telling her off, to say, oh, you've got into a fight with another child, you need to apologise, if not there'll be consequences, which is exactly what the police officer said. It's just absolutely extraordinary. I mean, this video has now been viewed millions of times on Twitter, and I really don't know how much longer Starmer can continue this lie that they are protecting freedom of speech. I don't know how much longer he can continue saying that.
He only really says it, doesn't he, in front of Donald Trump, though. I mean, he doesn't really say it when Donald Trump's not around. I mean, the 3 times I've seen him say it was on both occasions when he was sitting with him in the same room, and once on the phone. And people are now beginning to realise that he's a pretty disingenuous figure, not just on free speech, but on a lot of other things as well.
Well, yes, I mean, the conference yesterday in the press, it actually went very smoothly, I would say, for both Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. I think there was some sort of acceptance that they said we don't always agree on all things, but there was, you know, skirting around the Mandelson topic. There wasn't much pushback on the free speech issue, so it didn't come up that much. But that doesn't mean that it's not constantly in the background, that everyone is now thinking about this.
I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, because I think there are several American politicians who are going to keep pushing, you know, in the opposite direction. Let's get a quick voice note from Joanne on Keir Starmer.
Morning, Mike. Joanne from Norfolk. So, I can't believe it. It looks like the state visit has magically got rid of the Mandelson problem. Yet again, Teflon Starmer gets away with it. I mean, what's it going to take to get rid of this man? He has been the worst Prime Minister. The expenses from Lord Alley, the tickets, the glasses, the suits, the useless MPs that have all had to resign, Angela Rayner with her tax scandal. It just goes on and on. They've broken our borders. They've ruined our economy. The foreign policy is made up on the back of a fag packet. And we got rid of Boris over a birthday cake. Oh, come on, please, somebody do something to get rid of this lot. Please, please. Great show. Thanks, Mike.
Joanne, thank you very much indeed. I think that's a good way to end the show, really. It pretty much sums up Keir Starmer's week. Connie, good to see you again. Thank you very much indeed. Good luck to the latest case that you've got to fight.